what do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube, presented by Pure Options, precision-crafted cannabis. If you're trying to survive this NCAA tournament, if you're trying to survive your thoughts about Michigan State basketball, if you're just looking to chill, relax, feel better, sleep better, whatever it might be, Pure Options is here for you. Go to pureoptions.com. Check out their locations throughout the state. And if you spend $50 or more there and let them know Couch and the Rube sent you, you get a free eighth of ProGrow, terrific in-house brand from Pure Options. Our Monday afternoon show also brought to you by our friends at Muskox Quality Flannels. You can look as good as me and Jason, maybe better than me and Jason. Get a Muskox flannel today. Go to gomuskox.com and use the promo code HOFF for $15 off your flannel purchase. Terrific flannel weather right now, and that goes deep into the spring, even those summer nights. Again, go to gomuskox.com to check out their latest offerings. Jason, how you doing, brother?
I'm getting back to a deeper run in this tournament, and I'm going to die trying.
What's up, man? I hope Izzo doesn't die trying.
He kind of opened a vein.
That's that's pretty intense. He should be like an actor or something. It sounded so serious. I'm going to die trying. Anyway, speaking of dying trying, did you see your friends over at the Herald Leader today in Kentucky?
No.
It just shows half of the headline. $33 million Calipari buyout. Calipari spelled Kalipari.
Wait.
These are your people.
Are they my people?
I'm just saying. Well, they're sports writers. I don't know. You have to let us know what happens in the disconnect. How would you misspell the coach's name for your paper? Like Izzo would be like Lizzo or something. How would that even be possible?
Spell check or something went wrong. Was it on the print edition or the online edition?
It was on the print.
Yeah,
They had a picture of the paper on Twitter.
It's not good.
At KY Sports Radio on Twitter.
It's not good.
This is an unbelievable error by the Herald Leader.
Yeah.
Wow, he says. Kalipari. Rubed it. Rubed it.
Speaking of unbelievable, by the way, the Couch and the Rube 2024 Bracket Challenge, the men's standings, presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing Company in downtown Lansing, where, by the way, if you win this thing, you get we're going to have the top three winners will all get prize packets, including gift cards to Midtown Brewing Company. But the very top winner of both the men's and women's pools will get up to $100 and free food and 6 of their friends and in that corner booth if they want. Real fun night at Midtown Brewing Company. My wife is tied for first place. Elizabeth Couch tied for first place. Her champion is Iowa State, so I do fear for her long term. But the fact that she's in first place, it might just be me at Midtown. I don't know.
So you had nothing to do with her bracket?
No, zero. I would not have picked Iowa State. Like Darren Stem, who's also in first place with her, has UConn. I like his odds better. There's some other people. Scott Norby, Renee Dolinga, those two are tied for third. Chelsea Poma, Aaron Whiteford, and Tim Beckcroft, Jason Stowe, Matt Hall, who I think I know, Robert Berger, Cody Bennett round out those in the top 10 or tied in the top 10.
I think if your wife wins, she gets to sit in for one show. At least.
I like it.
What's her prize?
And Caleb Veith tied for 12th. I know Caleb. Caleb's
Are you just going to keep doing shout-outs?
Yeah, well, no, Caleb's
short on time here.
Son of good. Yeah, Caleb. I've known Caleb since he was an infant. Yeah, we can just keep doing.
Anybody else on that list?
We'll just keep doing. Keep going down these. I'm like 157th or some.
Oh, I don't even want to know.
Yeah, it's not.
This was honestly the stretch of 4 days. Where did my headset go? Definitely some of the worst gambling days I've had. I'm definitely going to take some time off. We're going to Nashville this weekend. So I I'm not going to bet any of this weekend's games. I just need some. It was a thorough ass kicking, and sometimes we've talked about it, Graham, because I know there's all these gambling things that people are talking about, and there's too much of it. But I know I don't have a problem currently, but I have a problem with college basketball, and I know when to say when. And when you get your dick kicked in 4 days straight, it's just like it's not even fun anymore.
You should have
fun.
You should have just bet the women's bracket because you are tied. You are tied for third in the women's pool.
Hell yes, let's go.
With Ken Chu and a bunch of others. Max Spade winning the women's pool, and you also have UConn. You have somebody different than Max Spade. So if UConn and not South Carolina wins this whole thing,
let's go.
You've got a chance. Maybe it'll just be you and I sitting there, two different groups over at Midtown Brewing Company enjoying
another
ourselves.
Live show with no microphone.
Yeah, we don't have any friends either. We couldn't even get to six.
Yeah.
6 people? That's crazy. I don't know.
How about we do 3? We do 3? I know somebody.
This is going to be a wild show. I want to brace people for something today. A real test of your grammar and punctuation. It was a rough morning work-wise. I just had a lot of stuff to do, a lot of stuff on my plate. Got in last night, had to spend some time with my wife, couldn't not do that. And so I could have. Did not have time to get to the hot takes today. Just didn't do it. So we got a few of them at the top and a few at the bottom, a few of the regulars and some other people. But we are going to do these old school, as we call it. Jason is going to read them off the interweb. And I usually make a fair bit of corrections in terms of abbreviations and spelling.
Thanks a lot, Elizabeth.
And order. Yeah.
I had to see Graham today. You see enough of them. Jesus.
And so, when we get to those, just it's going to be a little different. And if you hear one of yours and you have a bonus, it may not come up for like 20 minutes. So you got to hang in there. You know, it's going to be wild. I think it's still going to be fun. I think it's still going to be just as good. We'll have some fun with it. Not ideal, but sometimes these are the breaks, and this is.
These are the breaks, yeah.
This is the way it works. All right, we will. Let's dig into our hot takes before we get into those. Jason, are you ready? You want to go first?
Sure.
Okay.
What a wild season, right, Graham? Was it fun at the end? I have to admit, during the North Carolina game at halftime, I knew it was probably over unless they came out shooting lights out, Michigan State, that is. So I was kind of resigned. I was just, reflecting on the season, the ups and downs, the preseason rankings. A.J. Hoggard, 1 for 10 in that fucking game. But anyway, forget him for a second. The thing that drove me nuts yesterday was you calling people out on Twitter. I don't know. I don't see this. And I don't know why I don't see this, because I'm on Twitter on the reg. I follow a certain amount of people, and I follow Michigan State people. I don't see – apparently there's Twitter users going after players, correct? Now, I didn't see one of these. I did see your tweet about reprimanding and saying Twitter's ass and all this other stuff, but I don't understand how – I get it because you're in the media. You get more people coming at you. But for me personally, and I don't know if this goes for anyone else, like I use Twitter on a regular basis. To call these people out and to validate their stupid, is it someone with a name on it that we know? Someone in the media that's talking to these players? Or is it Bobo789 that's fucking going, AJ, you suck? I mean, ignore these people. We need to stop giving these people validation that are on Twitter. You hear it constantly on radio shows. Oh, I heard on Twitter, blah, blah. And I've probably done it too. But we go, oh, I heard on Twitter that so-and-so. So it becomes a narrative because someone without a fucking avatar decided to tweet at a player. I just don't know why we give these guys any validity.
Yeah, no, it's
because honestly, if you didn't tweet about it, I wouldn't have known. I would have gone throughout my day, not even looking for it, not even wondering what's going on. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm sure people do it. But is it the 1%, under 1% of Michigan State fans? Any Michigan State fan that you fucking respect whatsoever, have they ever gone online and gone after a player?
Sure.
I know Chad Latz does it, but he does it in fun. He wants to cheer on and sing him a dumb song.
There's some stuff that's just cruel, and I don't have it up in front of me, and some of it was towards Hoggard and
were they
there
real
little Malik Hall stuff. And
people
a little,
you knew?
I don't know if names? I knew. I don't know if I knew them, but there was enough vitriol out there, and maybe the reason I see it is because, on Twitter, I mean, a lot of what I do is MSU, and it's like
you see a lot more than
I see. Yeah, I just see it. It just pops up in my feed, and there was 3 or 4 tweets that I thought were either across the line or bordering across the line or just headed to this place that And people have the right to be emotional. That's the reason there's enough passion for these players to have the NIL money they have and to have the experience they have and for college basketball to work. It's okay to be frustrated with people. It's okay to be critical of people who are playing at that level, especially when it's on the court. But some of the stuff, it's just nasty. And you just don't need to be cruel.
A lot of it's nasty. But like I said, if someone said something nasty about this show, if they put their name on it, we can talk about it for sure.
Yep.
But if it's someone just randomly firebombing and saying Jason's got a big fat head and Graham's got tits, like, okay, fantastic. That made me laugh. Let's move on.
It's
we're
also
not
true.
Give it, well, I had to make it true. But we're not going to validate it by talking about these certain people. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm going to be turning 45 next month. I have a clearer head. I just don't give a shit about the Michigan State back and forth. Like, Michigan fan Jordan, he'll try to get me into something because he hates Izzo so much. And it does get me riled up for half a second. Then I'm like, I don't give a shit. Like, I know he hates Izzo. He's hated Izzo for the fucking 15 years I've known him. So what's the big deal? That honestly, more than the game against North Carolina, we constantly keep doing this where we talk about people on fucking Twitter when it's the people you're talking about they shouldn't have a voice.
Well, yeah. I mean, and you're a middle-aged prick. So, I mean,
yes.
you can handle it. And I have thick skin. I don't deal but these are also
I have thin skin too. Believe me, if someone comes at me and it's not funny and you're going out of bounds, I don't respect that. I'm going to block the shit out of you.
Right.
But if you come at me and you're funny about it, like we do on this show all the time, busting balls, then more power to you. But going after players, it is ridiculous. But if you just absolutely like Carlos Monterrez, if you don't read his shit, you don't talk about him. He's, apparently he's not going to ever go away. I don't know why that was a great comparison. I should have just strike that we'll fix that in post.
Fix in post.
But Carlos still blows. But anyway, you guys that with the Twitter validity, let's just stop doing it. Stop making it a narrative. Only treat people that you care about their fucking opinion.
Yeah.
Go from that. I heard blah 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 say today.
I didn't want to highlight any specific ones and call them out and bring them up at the time because it was like then you're just amplifying it. But yeah, anyway.
But then I go searching for it because I'm wondering what you're talking about. So that's what I mean by you. Yeah. You have a bigger platform.
That's fair.
And you can go. I understand your frustration totally too.
And I don't care. I just know that I know it bothers those guys. And even Izzo, is he sort of opened a vein and talked about the season and the struggles of it. And I mean, he did talk about some of his guys don't handle that stuff real well. And you have to remember that. And I'll be honest, if I were a parent of a recruit or a recruit themselves and that stuff came across – now, I'm not saying any fan base is better than any other fan base. There are a lot of shitty fan bases out there. You're going to have to go to a fan base that does not care, and there might not be that many of them out there if you don't want that stuff. But I'll be honest, if I saw enough MSU Twitter, I wouldn't come to Michigan State. I wouldn't want to deal with that. I wouldn't want to deal with it unless I knew my
you should
kid.
be on Twitter then.
Well, that's a whole
How about
different
you
point.
just start with there and go. You should stay off, or do what Solari does, and you can't comment unless you follow him. Or something.
There are lots of reasonable ways around it. I'm just saying it's unhealthy.
But you
and
just
it's
want to
uncalled for.
You just want to kill Twitter.
I do want to kill Twitter. I do want to kill fucking Twitter. Fuck Twitter. And even though we use it, and lots of people I congregate with, I'm not a fan of the algorithm now because I don't see certain people that actually like your tweets, Dominic's tweet. Like I just don't see certain people's tweets. So I don't like the algorithm for sure. But Twitter sucks. If we could totally move, like what nobody's figured out how to do yet is if somebody came along and said you can bring your following over to
Truth Social,
this platform, Spoutable or whatever it was,
Rumble.
Yeah, Threads, which Threads sucks too. I mean, Threads doesn't suck for the discourse as much as just a shitty setup. But if you could do that, then we could all just move ourselves over and get rid of this crap.
I'm a big fan of Reddit. Because Reddit, you sit there and you post, and then you get upvoted and comments that are the better comments. Yeah. People get downvoted and sent all the way to the bottom. I like Reddit as a platform, but I'm with you. Twitter can be ass from time to time. I don't want it to go away because it doesn't really bother me. But yeah, anyway.
All right, my first hot take, and it ain't that hot because I've written about it already. But this will be, I think, the most telling offseason of the direction of Michigan State's program in the final years under Izzo that there will be. Because while I do believe Izzo is motivated to get back into contention, as he said, to go into deep runs, and I do believe that there were some things that made this situation difficult. Like he had a point guard that just wound up having too many limitations And it was going to be very hard not to have that guy be your point guard. Number one, he could be really good in A.J. Hogard. Number two, once Jeremy Fears was shot and no longer an answer or a possibility, what he could have grown into in the season, you were kind of going to ride or die with A.J. Hogard. And in the postseason, until the North Carolina game, they rode with him a little bit. He was pretty good. And then he wasn't. And that was probably always the way the season was going to end. There were things he screwed up on. The center position, miscalculation. I miscalculated too. I thought they'd be okay there. I did. I thought Carson Cooper would take bigger steps than he did. I thought Mady Sissoko would be closer to the player that he was at the end of the year as a perhaps reserve. I never thought he would be a capable starting big man. And I didn't see the Jackson Kohler injury happening, and I think there were some real possibilities to use him in different ways. I thought they were further ahead with Xavier Booker, lots of things. I miscalculated too, but I'm not coaching the team. I'm not the one around these guys all the time. I think they should have seen it. And I think one of the things now is I think Mady Sissoko wants to come back. I think most of those big guys will be back. I think they should have redshirted probably Jackson Kohler because you'd have 3 years with him and he'd have more time to sort of figure out his future than the clock ticking the way it is on him.
Don't coach my team.
But I don't think you can trust next year, even if you think these guys are going to develop. I think you saw this year the possibility of just not being good enough at that position. And you can't be sure of it, so you have to go out and get somebody. The thing is, you only probably have one scholarship available if everybody comes back. Everybody talks about go get a big wing and go get this guy. If everybody comes back that wants to come back and they want back, so that's everybody but A.J. Hogard who has eligibility remaining, then you have one scholarship left. And that is where do you use that? Where do you use that best? And I've said before, I think more than anything you need sort of a versatile, rugged 4-man, 5 who can play both positions, can rebound, can defend, and gives you flexibility because I think you have a roster with some flexibility. A guy like Xavier Booker, as he gets even stronger, he put on 20 pounds during the season. Is he the 5 in certain matchup? Does he, as a pairing with Kohler, allow you to do some 4 or 5 things different on offense and defense, where Kohler's the 5 on offense and the 4 on defense? Who knows? Lots of different matchups. And I think you want another person who gives you some flexibility. But what you mostly want is the best big man available that you can get, and the one that you think fits what you do the best. And I think you have to add that person because not doing so just risks too much. By not doing it last year, a guy like Tyson Walker didn't get to compete for a championship. You know, Malik Hall is good enough to be a starting 4-man on a championship team. He's got to have the right people around him. They didn't have enough inside, so he didn't get to compete for a championship. That's also, talk about being fair to your roster and fair to players. That's part of the equation. I think Izzo knows all of this. When you listen to him talk, I think this is an offseason he understands in terms of development and evaluation of players and getting another big man in, and that this is important, and how he evaluates coaching these guys and getting the most out of this roster. They need to work on big man development. There's no question that they have not improved enough in that area in terms of post skill and touch and moves and all that. Jackson Kohler came to them mostly ready-made to what he is in that sense. They have not gotten that out. They need that out of a guy like Carson Cooper. Mady Sissoko is going to be what he is. Even if he comes back, he can be a useful backup. That's the extent of what he can be for you. I just think this is going to be an offseason where we see what he does. Is there a willingness and a real sense of grit and introspection? Because you saw it with, Brad Underwood talked about the other day at Illinois after they lost in the first round a couple years ago, or whenever it was, whenever they lost way prematurely. He started reshaping the way he built a roster. He saw that there was something that didn't work that he was doing. And for a while, I mean, this was a group that Izzo was sort of married to. I mean, this was the roster. But this is a real turning of the page moment. Your point guard next year will be different. It'll be Jeremy Fears. Your starting forward, power forward, will be Xavier Booker. A guy like Jay Nakin's going to have a bigger, different role that he's wanted. And so you're going to look like a very different team for the first time. And there's some excitement of that. I think it could be a fun roster. But if it's going to be more than a fun roster and it's going to be one that's in contention, Some of that is internal development. Like what Xavier Booker becomes between now and the end of the summer and going into next season will play a big role in whether that's a great team or just a good team, because he's your NBA pro on the roster. He's the guy who has the skill to, immense shooting skill, just immense versatility. Like that is potentially, as a rim protector, is a lot of things, a guy who's a real difference maker, a double-digit scorer, all that stuff. What the physical condition and making sure Jeremy Fears Jr. doesn't have any lasting ramifications from being shot, like that's really important. There are lots of things that internally have to be done and managed and will determine a lot. But you are able to use the portal, at least for one guy. Maybe more, because somebody might leave unexpectedly. That's going to happen for the program. And my guess is somebody leaves. I would be stunned if if they don't get caught off guard by at least one person wanting to go. But this will be an offseason to me where it's pretty clear that he's really determined to get this done, and we'll be able to see it or we won't.
But would it show you that, though, if Marty does come back, maybe there's no assistant coaching changes? Like, I was hopeful before we did this show, and then your first take, I'm listening to this shit, I'm going, I'm not I mean, you have to go to the portal. You have to change who you are.
Well, I think he'll go to the portal. I do.
Okay. But if you bring Marty back,
Marty doesn't.
We all love him. We get it. But we got to move on.
Bringing Marty back doesn't stop you from going to the portal. What Marty has to understand is he comes back in a diminished role. The best Marty can ever be in college basketball, in my opinion, is what he was in the NCAA tournament, where you're talking a guy who has a role off the bench, who gives you energy in a few minutes in certain matchups is really helpful. That's the best he can ever be. And I don't know that that ceiling is even higher than what Carson Cooper can become for them. So if you bring in a big and then Carson Cooper takes another step, there may not be a role in the rotation for Mady Sissoko most nights. And he's going to have to understand that. Doesn't mean he can't be part of the program. I'm not about, I don't think they should run off guys. I like that they don't do that. If Mady Sissoko wants to be part of the program and wants to give everything he has to be on the team, I still think he has value as a person, and I still think there's value of being a program that doesn't run guys off. And there's enough flexibility.
How bad does Izzo want this second championship? You have to stop
worrying
about who you're running off.
What does Mady Sissoko have to do with the second championship? You're going to get a big man. Mady Sissoko doesn't factor in.
How many minutes is he going to play then?
Well, you don't play him if he's not good enough. You have to be willing to do that. Mady Sissoko does not factor in the next season at all. He can be on the roster, and if he's going to play, he's got to be good enough to play.
But you understand this is the same things we've been hearing, even with the football team, D'Antonio, the loyalty shit. And it's not – college basketball, this loyalty shit isn't going to work anymore. So if Tom wants to live or die trying winning this fucking second natty, then he's got to do it. Loyalty, you have to be tough.
Loyalty
and
shit
you have
works.
To get rid of guys.
Bullshit.
Yeah,
loyalty shit works.
Bullshit. That's the old college basketball. This is new shit.
I'm going to tell you,
coaches are quitting because they hate it so much.
I'm telling you, Kelvin Sampson down at Houston, most of his team. Now he brings in a couple transfers, been really good for them. Most of that team,
yeah.
But yeah, right. And
I'm asking for everybody to flip over
again,
every year.
Whether Mady Sissoko comes back or not has nothing to do with whether they go get a transfer, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I'm talking about as fans, the mentality
for
fuck
fans. Because it doesn't matter. It does not matter what the fans think. It's how the team's
fans buy LSJ subscriptions. I don't know. You should say fuck fans. I mean, they have a point in this whole thing, and we constantly hear the same fucking thing over and over again. The season goes through the same waves for the past 4 years. We have to keep hearing this shit, and I'm going to die. We need to get the pads on and blah, 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 fucking blah. Let's get some guys in here. I'm sick of watching these guys. The guys like A.J. Hogarth. I know Mady is a great guy, but we got to stop fucking getting these guys that you can't get rid of because they're so nice and they do such great things. But we want to win a second natty, right? So we got to do something about it.
Hold on.
Doing this, yeah.
Hold on.
Mady might come back.
Couple things.
Who cares?
We'll fix fuck fans in post. That was bad. I didn't mean fuck readers. Very different people. Totally. Some of you are the same. Fuck the opposing fans, right? But what I mean is, I didn't mean fuck fans. I meant fuck the opinion of fans in this moment. Like that is not why you build a roster. How you build a roster.
No,
what matters is next season what it looks like. Fans will come aboard if it looks right. And whether my point is this: if Mady Sissoko comes back, it does not change your determination for this offseason. He is no longer a factor in the future. It's like when you have a pitcher who's got a big contract. Who's a guy who's Miguel Cabrera, right? Mady Sissoko is Miguel Cabrera at the end. At this point, he's on the roster. Doesn't hurt you. Doesn't really help you. whatever. He's on the roster.
Mickey killed that team last year.
Okay,
They weren't in a central race by any means. I mean, they were still
Great
a possibility
point.
for him to win.
Bad analogy. Bad comparison. Because I think Mady Sissoko still has value. What I'm saying is whoever comes back is the big man. I do think they'll lose probably one more person. You'll wind up with 2 openings, and they'll at least go get somebody in the portal. I think that's something they're going to evaluate this offseason. Look, they watched the same games that we all did.
Yeah.
Right?
I know. Yeah.
I think, but I also understand
we get it.
this.
They don't want to lose either. We get all that.
I also understand this. I understand why fans don't trust that they'll go do something. They've 2 years in a row now. It felt a little burned by it. It felt like that they're not on the same page with Izzo. That Izzo doesn't see what they see, and they've been right, and he's been wrong, and they're right. I mean, I'm saying that like Izzo's been wrong on this. He miscalculated on the big man situation, and it cost this team dearly. If they had one of about 5 different big men that they faced during the season that was in the transfer portal last year, this team would have had a much better chance to compete. They would not have been in a 9 seed. They would not have had to play North Carolina in the second round. They might be playing this weekend. There'd be a pretty decent chance they're playing this weekend. And they're not, because Izzo and his staff miscalculated on that. They did not either develop guys they thought they would, or they just, for whatever reasons, they miscalculated. And some of it was unforeseeable, the Jackson Kohler stuff, but some of it was they should have known what Mady Sissoko could be by the time last year started. That should have been, I think they overthought he still had more room to grow, and I don't know how many people really thought that. My miscalculation was I thought Carson Cooper was going to take a step that he didn't take yet, and I think he still might. But, again, if you bring in somebody and Carson Cooper takes that step and he beats that person out, so be it. That's fine. Yeah, he's great. I think this offseason will be a real – I think you might see a little change on the coaching staff. Who knows? I don't think he'll fire guys, but I do think – who knows if somebody moves to a different role or something like that. People always want guys fired.
Program.
People always want guys fired.
Well, call it whatever you want. Let go.
Yeah.
See you later. Fired. I mean, I don't know.
I think this is largely Izzo's program, a sense, and he knows he'll be judged by what he does. And I'm not saying the staff isn't important, but it's Izzo sets the tone for whether they're going to get a transfer, the types of players they want, all that stuff. And we're going to find out a little this offseason how much he's willing to change certain elements.
But we tried it his way. Can we try it another way this offseason?
You're not going to get that.
Okay.
But his way needs to become a little more adaptable. And again, I think there was a moment where he was happy to say F you to the portal, I'm going to do it my way, but he only was willing to do that and only willing to say that because he thought he had the goods without the portal. We've seen before when there is a portal player he wants or he thinks they need, going all the way back to Brandon Wood on the team when Draymond Green was a senior, with Joey Hauser, who was available, Tyson Walker when he thought he needed a point guard. Tom Izzo is not a masochist. He's not going to sit there and just keep losing. He miscalculated. He can also pretend to say, I hate the portal and I don't think it's right for college basketball, and then which I believe he thinks is true, but that's therefore I'm going to do it this way. But if he really thought he needed a guy, he'd go get a guy. He went and got Gavin Schilling. No, Gavin Schilling was a recruit. Ben Carter. Because he thought he needed a guy. Like, he's done this forever. It's not something he's totally against. It was convenient to say he was against it when he thought he had the goods. He miscalculated. I think this summer we'll see a different calculation. I think it's an important summer, and I think at the end of it we'll have a real good sense of where this thing is headed under him. What is your second hot take?
So the NFL owners' meetings are going on right now, and Ian Rappaport tweeted out that the NFL has banned the hip drop tackle, a source said. The competition committee was unanimous on it. Graham, I mean, these refs already can't get, like, roughing the passer, right? Like, how many more steps are we going to get into to where we need to start worrying about not only just the NFL, college football? I get it, the hip drop tackle, if we're going to get rid of one, I think that. But how else are you supposed to ask your defensive players to tackle a guy? Where do you aim? Where do you go? If you go too high, you get the head. You go down low, you're going to get called for this. So unanimous.
What is the hip drop tackle? I don't even know what that means.
It's where you go on, grab somebody by the hips, and then you just drop. You take your whole weight and then fall down.
I thought that was tackling.
That is tackle, but people were getting, dislocated this or that or Liz Frank shit. I don't know, but people were complaining about it, and apparently, but the unanimous on it,
yeah,
just stamp it. Boom, we're done. Listen, people say we're going to start going to two-hand touch or flag football. I got to say, I could see flag football happening in like a decade.
No.
I'm telling
it
you.
won't happen.
I'm telling you. Where are you going to tackle? If you're a defensive player, you see this, what are you supposed to do? Like lead with your shoulder into some? I mean, it's just, I understand you're trying to minimize injuries and all that stuff, but sometimes you got to let these guys play.
Yeah.
And I just feel like these refs are already ass, and you put all of this pressure on them. I don't know. It's scary.
Yeah. And I hate the idea of a big game being lost to a penalty for that. So it's a 15-yard penalty or like a horse collar? I don't know. I hate that. I hate that idea. I do. So Michigan State hockey gets in the NCAA tournament, which was
Munn was rocking, huh?
Yeah, I wish I'd been there. The way they to win in overtime against Michigan, the way they scored with like half a second left at the end of the second period, it just looked like a whole lot of fun. A whole lot of fun. Michigan State was going to be a 1 seed even before that game, secured the 1 seed because of some other things happened. They get the game that's probably the best deal for them, going to St. Louis, and they'll face Western Michigan, a good Western Michigan team. And the hockey tournament's different than other tournaments because there are only 16 teams. There are no shitty teams in the college hockey tournament. So you can lose right away and anything can happen. I've been waiting 12 years to dive into this tournament. I'm going to in a column later in the week. But there is no tournament that is more logistically unreasonable, lacking logic, and just plain out ass than the NCAA college hockey tournament. It is unbelievable. You have 3 teams from the state of Michigan and 1 from North Dakota meeting in St. Louis, suburban St. Louis, at a rink that only seats 2,500 people because it's Lindenwood University is hosting a regional. And 3 teams from Michigan have to go to St. Louis to play each other. Michigan State and Western, who could play at Munn or Lawson Ice Arena or freaking Wing Stadium, whatever, Grand Rapids, whatever. They could play somewhere else. That part of things does not make sense. College hockey should be home sites until the Frozen Four, much like women's basketball in the first 2 rounds that has it down. It makes 0 sense to me. And it's so, I cannot wait to talk to people about this. The logic makes 0 sense. And I think eventually they will get there. You'd have better crowds some places. Other places you'd have enough room. The 2,500 is ridiculous. And it just, more people who want to be there would get to see it. Like this, Michigan State is a 1 seed, should get to host the first 2 rounds. The second component of this that is unbelievable is that this is a single elimination tournament. This is not basketball, where there are 160 data points in a given game in terms of scoring and lots of opportunity to make up for one bad bounce or one whatever. Hockey is a different animal. It is one bad bounce. You would never see in the NHL. In the NHL, it's best of 7, right? And I understand the NBA, it's in college, it's best of 7. In college hoops, it's one and done, and not always the best team wins. It's just different. Hockey is different. You spend all year, the summer, you're working out in conditioning. For one bad bounce off the freaking post, it makes 0 sense. And there's time to do it. That's what's ridiculous. There's time to have best of 3. They take a week off during the basketball, men's and women's Final Four. Why? A lot of different audiences. That should be the round before the Frozen Four this weekend. You already got like 16 weekends of conference tournament play, where half the time somebody isn't playing or is playing once. Half these teams have played 4 times in the last 2 months after playing every weekend for 8 months. And you could easily play best 2 out of 3 on campus sites this weekend, best 2 out of 3 on campus sites next weekend, and then Frozen Four, it would be single elimination. It's a big, once you get there, that's the achievement. It's the Final Four. It's the Frozen Four at a neutral site in St. Paul. No problem with that. Frozen Four is cool. But the first 2 weekends should be best 2 out of 3 campus sites, either hosted by, the top person in that pod. And it's just so simple. And I don't know how they don't get it. And there's 0 reason, because yeah, you got a tournament, but you don't really have a legitimate champion. When you got single elimination in hockey, I understand in basketball the best team doesn't always win in college basketball. But the best team in college hockey, I would guess, wins even less, is often out. And it's just so asinine. And look, I don't know everything about hockey, but I do know logistics. And I get pissed off when people fuck that up. And that's going to be part of this
So what's the
league.
reasoning why? It's money, because it doesn't make enough money to air the games, to have a best out of three. I'm with you. I don't know what – I've always heard that college hockey has the worst system of all time for how many years, but people would do something about it, I believe, if there was money in it.
Well, we're going to find out this week because it doesn't make any fucking sense to me. I'm baffled, and I just cannot stand it. And Michigan State hasn't been in it. The first 12 years I've been at this job, so I just haven't dealt with it. I've thought these things, but now it's time. It's time. The hockey world, we cannot let these Northern Canadian loving people be this dumb. They're just, I don't know, it's just, I'm sorry. We're going to find out why this is what it is, and we're going to get it fixed. That's what we're going to do. We're going to work to get it fixed. We're going to shame people into fixing college hockey because it should be a great tournament. It should be a lot of fun. Instead, it's got a lot of ass to it. What is your third hot take?
Real quickly, I don't know if you were traveling, Graham, but the Grand Canyon Lopes played Alabama. And this is not gambling related, even though I had Grand Canyon plus 6.5. But I have never seen a team play, especially in the second half. Like Bryce Drew is the coach. You remember Bryce Drew, right?
Yeah.
That big shot. His dad's a coach, Homer Drew. I'm sitting there in the first half. I'm going like, man, maybe Bryce Drew is going to get a couple looks for jobs, you know, maybe the Michigan before we heard all that news. And the second half, I've never seen a team play one. They were playing and one street ball out there, not even listening to Bryce Drew. I don't know what the halftime speech was that he gave, but these guys were playing iso ball. I mean, Grand Canyon was 18 for 56 from the field, 32%, 2 for 20 from 3, 37 free throws. What are we doing? But I've just, especially in an NCAA tournament setting like that. I mean, yeah, you'll watch a game like Grand Canyon on at midnight on a Tuesday or something when they play San Francisco or something crazy, right? Then maybe they'll pull that. But this is in the NCAA tournament, and guys were playing hero ball. It was unbelievable. I mean, Alabama wasn't that much better. I mean, they were better than Grand Canyon, obviously, because they won the game. But watching Grand Canyon play, and they're 30-5. You know what I mean? It's not like this team made it with 17 wins or some shit. So it was just absolute baffling from top to bottom. Hopefully we'll hear more about what happened with Bryce Drew and all that. But it was just wild.
Barkley made comments about it was like the worst he ever seen.
It was really nice. Yeah. You know when you make a point to your wife and all of a sudden the guys come on TV and say the same shit and you kind of have that like swag. You're like, yeah, no sports. Like they were doing the same thing I was yelling about. But anyway. So.
Yeah. The I did not see the game, but I heard the reaction to it. My third hot take has to do with the NCAA tournament because one thing I'm starting to notice, and there have been some good upsets in this tournament. It hasn't been an upset that tournament's been overly upset heavy. And I'm okay with a chalky tournament when you've got great one seeds, and I think this tournament did. And the Oakland win was a lot of fun, and so there's still that component. But one thing that's become pretty clear to me is that in the new college basketball, where there's a lot of upward mobility with mid-major top players moving to the Big Ten and moving to the SEC and all that stuff, there are going to be a lot fewer upsets in the NCAA tournament because
now you tell me
there are less of those teams. There are less of the teams capable. There are less really good seniors on those teams. Those guys have moved on to high major programs. They've transferred. Those teams, there are just fewer of them. And then a team like Indiana State, who is one of them, winds up in the NIT because we're still stupid at evaluating that stuff. I think one of the things that's going to drive me nuts, though, is in the next 5 years, as there are fewer of these upsets, it's going to only lean into Greg Sankey's point about, high majors needing more opportunities or they're the better teams anyway and all that shit.
Shut up, Sankey.
Yeah, first of all, Sankey's a moron. His league's not very good at basketball. But that's not what this tournament's about anyway. And I don't care if there are fewer upsets. We need to still create the opportunity for upsets. There are still plenty of opportunities for high majors to get into the tournament. And if the system itself is what screws the mid-majors and makes them less likely to have an upset, I would to quote Tom Izzo, I would rather watch them die trying to have the upset than watch another fucking middling high major. And it's just one more thing I don't like about the current system. And there are things that are fair about the transfer portal, but what it's going to do to mid majors, what it's going to do to those fan bases over time, how less those fan bases are going to care, and how that's going to hurt the sport. And I'm telling you right now, I do not think 40 years from now, you and I will be long dead.
Hope so.
But 40 years from now, I do not think that the college basketball NCAA tournament will be on CBS or it will be in a major event if this is the pattern that's continuing, because it just won't be that fun. And I'll make a Chad Latz bet for it, because both of us will be dead and I won't have to actually do anything. I will drive Chad Latz.
What it take? A 40-year wait?
Yeah.
To what they're called bullshit on your take.
That is my take. If you listen to this show at this point, I hope you've already taken advantage of Pure Options. If you haven't, go to pureoptions.com. Be it Lansing, Mount Pleasant, west side of the state, east side of the state. They've got locations near you, and just an awesome environment and great offerings, and the quality they have there. Like this is like a really, from a beer standpoint, this is like a really quality craft beer versus piss in a can that some other places would give you. Again, pureoptions.com. And if you spend $50 or more and let them know Couch in the Rube sent you, a free eighth of ProGrow, an in-house brand. We will take a quick break. We come back. We'll dig into some of your hot takes. Couch in the Rube, presented by Pure Options, precision-crafted cannabis, and Muskox, high-quality flannels.
Hey, sports fans, are you tired of the same old routine? Looking for a way to unwind after a long day? Look no further than Pure Options, the premier destination for all of your cannabis needs in Lansing, Detroit, Muskegon, and Mount Pleasant. Whether you're cheering for the Lions, Spartans, or the Wolverines, Pure Options has everything you need to elevate your game day experience. And here's the best part. Mention Couch in the Rube when you visit Pure Options and get a free GoPro 8 with a $50 purchase. It's our way of saying thank you for being a loyal listener. Swing by Pure Options today and elevate your cannabis experience to a whole new level. Firekeeper's online casino and sportsbook is the site to play. From your phone, tablet, or laptop. Get in on all the football action with pre- and in-game wagering. There's showdowns every week in football that you can't miss. Plus, the college and pro hoops are red hot, and the pucks are cool. Get your first casino deposit and sports wager matched up to $500 each. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and located in Michigan. Gambling problem? Call the Michigan Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-270-7117. Where else can you cheer on your team? Enjoy a mouth-watering burger or savory sushi. Sip on handcrafted cocktails or one of 46 beers on tap. Take your game day or date night to Cask & Company Kitchen Bar or Front 43 Neighborhood Pub near Frandor. Two amazing places with one awesome blended modern American Asian menu. Catch the game on one of 30 60-inch TVs or stop in for the all-you-can-eat lunch buffet. Enjoy happy hour or elevate your night out at Cask & Company or Front 43 on East Saginaw in Lansing.
Find Couch in the Rube podcasts on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and the Rube's favorite podcast addict.
Couch in the Rube, presented by Pure Options, precision-crafted cannabis. Go to pureoptions.com. Check out their location near you. And our Monday afternoon show brought to you by our friends at Muskox Quality Flannels. I am decked out in a Muskox flannel today, enjoying the Muskox weather. They have great spring offerings as well for lighter flannels if you're thinking about this summer on the beach or in the backyard in the evening. Look good, feel good. Go to gomuskox.com and you can use the promo code HOFF, H-O-F-F, for $15 off your Muskox purchase. All right, what we're going to do here is we are going to read, we're going to get into your hot takes as we always do, and we're going to do some of these today. And then we're going to come back with a Tuesday show this week and do some other stuff, maybe get Harry on. We'll figure all that out. But then also do the rest of them because I do want to get into all these, and I think there's some really good stuff, and we've got sort of a limited time today, and we just don't want to.
We'll get to them.
We're going to get to them. So if you don't hear yours today, it'll be part of the our Tuesday Couch in the Rube show. Are you ready?
Yeah, man.
All right.
Dominic up first. Number one, there needs to be meetings with MSU players happening today, and Mark Montgomery and Thomas Kelly need to be visiting portal-bound kids immediately. No more fucking around. Wojcik can stay home and collect finger clippings in a jar. Freak. 2. Graham is actually going to hold Izzo accountable this summer when he hilariously tries to run it back with these bigs. He'll pen scathing columns where he claims that Izzo's taking a bit of a risk and is promptly fired and locked in a Turkish prison forever.
Yeah, I would be fired then for that. Is that what he?
Going to Turkish prison forever.
I would not do well in a Turkish prison. You might. I mean, you've got a lot of history with prison. So.
Not Turkish prison.
Yeah, Turkish prison sounds worse.
That.
I don't even know if Turkish prison's bad. It might be better than American prison.
I'm going to go out on a limb and just say it is.
Better than American prison?
No, it's got to be worse.
Yeah,
right?
It sounds bad. It's weird. Everything Turkish is interesting. Turkish bathhouse, Turkish this. Turkish prison, though, sounds bad. Everything's extreme when it's Turkish. I don't know what that's about. But
have you been to a Turkish bathhouse?
No.
Oh.
I mean, no, not.
Sounds awful.
Yeah. I don't even know what goes on there. I can only imagine what goes on at Turkish.
Hand jobs.
Yeah.
Jer Bear next. Number 1, NCAA hockey needs to copy NCAA baseball. A longer postseason to make sure campus sites are including until an Elite 8 or Frozen 4 neutral site. This is the worst tournament by a mile. And bonus, Izzo changing his portal stance but not changing coaches is a half measure.
It'll be really interesting to see if he does anything with his staff. I mean, he likes those guys. He feels comfortable with them. And I think there has to be more big man development. There's no question about it. And so you got to do probably something there. You got to figure out how you do that, whether you're adding somebody, whether you're shifting guys around, and whatever it might be. I think a lot of this, though, is on Izzo. Izzo, more than the coach of many programs, is the guy who drives this thing. And it's his mindset, his willingness to adjust and adapt. And if he's willing to adapt, his staff will follow, and you'll see the things you really want to see. I'm a believer of that. And I'm with you on the hockey tournament. And Jer Bear's a smart hockey guy, and so if he's saying it, then
he knows puck.
He knows puck, right?
Miller next. Matt Painter seems condescending and smug. Praises Lance Jones for taking charges, but 2 days later is ranting about refs, the restricted zone, and his players' safety. Even Bill Self had the decency to admit the call at the end of the Sanford game was bad. Bill fucking Self. Bake take. Instead of going to 6 fouls, implement 5 fouls on refs. Off-site whole game review. After 5 bad calls, ref is ejected and replaced with an on-call ref who then gets full pay for the game. 2 ejections, done for the season, and pay cut on all future seasons.
That is an incredible.
I'd go to that.
Pure options, purely baked take. Yeah, no, I would love to see that, like that level of accountability for refs. We would never get there, but it is a great take because it would be fun if there was like real ramifications for shittiness.
Like Ted Valentine, getting to see him walk off the court.
He's a better ref than you think, Valentine. I'm telling you right now, like if you were to poll coaches and say who would you like to have on the road, almost all of them would say Ted
Tim
Valentine.
Donaghy. I'm sorry, I was just grabbing any ref I could. Sorry, your boy. Tyson's Fury next. I'm more upset with the MSU fans who continue to criticize players in such a disrespectful manner than I am with the loss to UNC. Some guys didn't play well, and you can say that, but don't be an ass. MSU will lose out on recruits or guys to the portal because of douchebags on X.
Well, it would be interesting to see somebody say that, and the reaction of a fan base, like if you did have a recruit or a transfer said, I was looking at these 3 schools and I just saw some real toxic shit going on in the fan base on social media on this one, and I just thought that was sort of the tiebreaker.
And some 40-year-old white guy from Lansing told me I shouldn't go to Michigan State because of Twitter. The influential 44-year-old white guy.
I would.
He knows what the kids are thinking.
I think if I were, I don't know if this would be helpful or not, but I think if I were a college basketball coach, I would consider banning Twitter for my players.
Good luck.
You say that, but I would just do it for their own mental health. I would just say, we're going to do this together. We're all off social media. We're going to do this together. You can be on every other form of social media. I don't think it's toxic. Just Twitter.
How much NIL am I making, though?
That's the thing. It's all tied. I don't know.
If I'm getting some cash, it's easy to get rid of that Twitter, but
yeah,
I don't know. All right, let's go here randomly. Andrew Gauthier next. Number 1, for the first time in a while, bad point guard play was a primary reason MSU got bounced from the tourney. 2, Izzo's postgame needs to be more than just talk. And 3, we need a transfer power forward and center. No excuses, Graham. If our current rotation becomes starting caliber, icing on the cake.
Yep, 100% on that. I mean, we just saw it, and you saw it against Armando Bacot in North Carolina. And I know the Ingram kid who got hot, and he was a 31% three-point shooter, or started hitting some face-ups and threes. But a lot of what North Carolina was able to do, and a lot of what Michigan State ultimately couldn't handle, is because they were double-teaming and they had to deal with a guy like Bacot, was just more of a force. You got to have a counter to that. You don't have to have him, but you got to have a counter to that. That's a little more than MSU has, and I just don't think you can bank on. In the old days when you didn't have the ability to fix things quickly, like a freshman center is unlikely to be able to deal with it, and you would just have to develop. You'd have to take Carson Cooper and you'd just throw him in a weight room, pump him full of creatine and steroids and whatever it was, and try and get him big enough to deal with it.
What's creatine?
Creatine, I mean.
Oh.
Creatine.
Does that still work? We need steroids.
Whatever.
Creatine's weak, dude.
Whatever the shit they put in horses. You just and you would try to get yourself to a point where you had an answer. But nowadays you can fix it. And the thing about Izzo and Michigan State in the portal, and this is what he has to realize most, is he doesn't have to change the culture or the fabric of his program. You can still, the best programs are still going to be built from within with development to an extent. You supplement your roster with, when you have weaknesses. And every once in a while, that's going to hurt some feelings. And every once in a while, somebody's going to leave because you do. But so be it. But what's ultimately only fair to the guys in your program now is that you give them the best chance to have the best experience and win the most. And not using the portal when it's needed, where it's needed, is not being fair to those guys on your roster who give you a chance to win, who want a chance to win at the highest levels. So he's got to frame it in his own head that way, and then understand he has so many advantages that schools don't. He's got a better NIL payroll than most places. He's got sort of the cachet of being Tom Izzo. A lot of these legendary coaches aren't around anymore. Michigan State is a place. There's so many, and now you have one more year of the extended portal. So you have one more year of extended eligibility because of COVID. And take advantage of it. Go get a fifth-year guy. Then you're not entirely recruiting over guys who are younger. But you might have one more year of Xavier Booker if things go well with him. And every year is precious. You never know the year that it's going to happen, when you might have your best chance at a run, when an injury is going to derail the year you thought was going to be a run, and the year you didn't think was going to be it's going to be it. Like, you have to spend every year thinking, how do I put together the best roster that gives you a chance to contend this year? To me, right now, there is no way around that. The only way, here would be my one caveat to that, and even then you'd still need a power forward. If Xavier Booker walked into your office tomorrow and said, I think I want to put on another 20 and I want to be the 5. That would be the only way. That's the only thing there would be an argument to say you don't need to evaluate that position. And I think it is rough, though, because you do have some guys that are promising. And, what does it say to Carson Cooper and Jackson Kohler? You're essentially saying, we don't believe in you getting to this level, but this is big boy basketball. And if those guys are able to, get themselves where they want to be, they'll find a role. They'll carve out a role. You have to also be willing to compete for a job at this level.
Ken Chu next. That was one hell of a championship game against Michigan Saturday night, and it looks like we could see them again in the NCAA tournament if we beat Western. Tough draw, but let's fucking go.
The whole draw, yeah. Having Michigan, obviously, I don't think anybody wants that again. Oh, Michigan may lose to North Dakota in that first game. North Dakota is not easy. But the thing that you really start to realize quickly with college hockey is, like, if you win one game, you're in the Elite Eight. Like, real quick, only the elite teams are left. So it's never going to be an easy draw. You look around, and obviously, but Western's a really good program, and be a fun matchup. I just wish it was a little bit closer than suburban St. Louis.
Kurt Wisniewski, with the second-year turnaround of MSU hockey, Haller should mandate the utilization of the portal for all MSU sports.
You don't want to be that AD. You got to trust your coach, and allow them to build, like you got to let them build the program that they want to build. And if they don't build it well enough, then you get rid of them. But you can't tell people how to build a roster. I don't think that's what you want to do as an AD. I don't think that creates the culture you want. You want to trust your coaches. You can encourage it. You can say, this is a day and age where you ought to be able to fix things quicker, and you'll be judged on that accordingly. But I think you don't want to do that.
I think Haller gets a lot of credit, but I was thinking about him over the weekend, thinking of where each Michigan State major sport is right now. He's done a hell of a job, right? I mean, the football program was in fucking shambles. Jonathan Smith, it seems like with Aiden Childs, he has his quarterback. Everything might be looking up with the football program. Women's hoops, hell, gymnastics won. It's just the hockey team, obviously. So it's just unbelievable what he's done.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think that you have to now. Obviously, what Jonathan Smith becomes will determine a lot of Alan Haller's.
Sure,
fate,
I'm just saying right now where everything is trending upwards. Anything can happen. We saw it with Mel Tucker. So
yeah, right. No, his work with hockey and women's basketball and volleyball all seem to be, really moving right direction, and all sports that have people excited and have the fan base. I mean, what's happened in hockey is certainly, sort of the third sport. I think has people really, really fired up, and that's a good hire because the thing about Nightingale is he was not the obvious only get. Like I didn't know what I was talking about, but beyond that, I thought based on people I talked to that maybe there were better guys to go after. Haller let the interview do the work. He liked what he heard, and he made a great call.
Spartan 18770 next. Number one, Izzo on his post-game interview stated that he was determined to make a deep run in the tournament or die trying. So in other words, he's going to try and do his job. Do I have that right? 2, we haven't developed the big man since Dwayne Stevens left. Coincidence? Well, and 3, sorry. Here's his 3. Hiring old coaching buddies didn't help D'Antonio. Tom should have learned this lesson well.
Yeah, but Dwayne Stevens would be an old coaching buddy, and that seemed to work. I mean, it's not about the old coaching buddy. It's about the coach. And he may need to look at his staff. I don't know enough. I know some of the inner workings there. I think there are some weaknesses with the big men. I think that is an issue, and they need to figure that out. But, I also think the guy who works with the big men is known as one of the best guys in terms of being really tight with a scouting report and prepping a team. So, like, there are elements to, you got to – the thing he has to do is make sure his coaching staff is playing to its strengths and he has the right people in the right spots. There's no question about that. You're right. I mean, part of Izzo's job is to, use the tools that are there for him now in the modern day and age of basketball to the point that he can stomach it. And if you can't stomach it, you have to get out, right? That's the only way. That's the only way around it. I still think that Michigan State is in a much better place with him in the next few years than potentially with anybody else. I just do. Because if he retired today, I'm going to tell you right now, your roster does not include Jeremy Fears Jr., Xavier Booker, or any of them fuckers.
Or Sissoko.
I got to stop using the word fuckers. These are good guys, and that's a bad time to use the language there. I'm swearing too much today. It's been a lot. Today's been a long day. And I apologize. We'll fix that in post. And but anyway, the one other thing I wanted to mention too about the Haller point from the previous hot take is one thing I think Haller does really well, and he did with Nightingale, is he talks to a lot of people. He knows what he doesn't know, and he talks to a lot of people in the business before he makes a coach about who they would hire, who's a good. I think there are certain tenets of being an athletic director he really has down in that sense, and in terms of making hires.
Matt Boone next. Number one, bright side of Saturday, no more AJ stupidity, missed layups, late recovery D, and run-ending missed shots. 2, Izzo saying that he did after the game, or what he did after the game did nothing for me. Actions is all I care about. Words are useless with this man. And 3, Sissoko was the best center in 3 games.
Yeah, 2 of them were toward the end, but you're right. And he had a really bad year, and you just can't overlook that, And again, I'm not saying you have to run him out of the program. And I think when my first hot take, which obviously set you off, I mean, it's interesting to watch your reaction to my word Sissoko, because it it derailed the hot take and it set you off. But that's
It
important
didn't
to know.
set me off. I'm just sick of
It made
hearing
you-
this shit. We're talking about Sissoko, A.J. Hogarth starting fresh, and I was excited after the North Carolina game to hearing you going, Marty could come back. And I'm just like, because that means loyalty. That means all the coaches are coming back. So
Yeah,
it just bums me out.
he doesn't come back as your starting quarterback, so to speak, if that makes sense. If he's on the roster, he's on the roster.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know what you mean. You still get nervous because you feel like they'll go to him too much.
Yeah, what if we can use someone else with that spot?
These are
That can
conversations that are going to be interesting. And in the NIL world, too, I mean, his NIL is funding a school. If he leaves, can he fund the school? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, are you saying this school in Africa can't have money if you run him out of the program? What kind of school are you?
Let's start a GoFundMe. What do we need to break him off to get him out of here? I got 25 on it. Let's start it. Lucas, next. Number 1, first game ever at Munn on Saturday. Top 5 experience as a State fan. 2, Steve Eiserman was apparently 10 feet from me the entire game, and I never knew. If I went up to him, it would be like the Chris Farley show on SNL. And 3, thank God this basketball season is over.
Yeah, I heard Eiserman was there. Who would that be? Who would be the person who, if you were near, if they were a big enough star and you wound up saying hello to them, that it would just, you would be so nervous that you would just fuck it up?
If I wanted to go up to them, listen, I should not be around famous people. I would not be able to handle myself around pretty much anyone. That's a celebrity.
With or without, like, if you had enough pure options in you, could you handle it?
Actually, pure options keeps me well behaved.
Right, that's what I mean. That's what I mean.
It would have to, like I said, it would have to be someone, like John Daly or something.
But like, so
we
what,
wouldn't talk politics, but we would talk golf, and I would just be saying random shit I've seen him do on videos.
I want to see this now.
It goes with the Big Bang Theory guy. I just knew at that point I should not be around famous people.
So if we had John Daly on this show, how would you handle it?
What's up, man? We're not going to talk politics, but guess what we're going to talk about? Your top 5 Tiger Woods stories or something. I don't know. Just randomly, just hanging out with them.
That's not bad. I would like to see you around famous people. I would watch.
It's terrible.
I would watch a reality show where the Rube meets famous people.
Dude, if I met Chad Latz, come on.
Okay.
No, just kidding.
We can make that happen.
Nate C., of course. It was better than Fears didn't play. We wouldn't have been that much better, and he would have lost a little of his dog mentality. Now I suspect he wants to fix MSU, and hopefully he has the talent to do it.
Well, so it's never better, obviously, that you get shot. And the other thing is you don't know the long-term ramifications physically. Like, there was a pretty serious surgery. There's some stuff in his leg that he wasn't born with at this point.
50 Cent got shot 6 times. He's alive.
Oh, Tupac did too, and he's not. So,
well, I was naming guys that are still alive. That
okay.
got shot, but
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Start naming dead rappers that got killed. Biggie Smalls.
So, point being, but we don't know if there will be ramifications. You remember the Mateen Cleaves rollover injury, and he was never the same player, never the same athlete, I should say, because if you saw him in high school, he's an above-the-rim guy. Will Fears have that same bounce to him? Will he be the same player? Will it affect his college career? I don't think we have that answer. But there is something to having to miss time and having a chip on your shoulder and just badly wanting to be out there and having something taken away from you. And so, but the other side of that is Michigan State really could have used him this year, and they probably would have won, I don't know, 2 more games, and they're not in an 8-9 seed spot maybe, and they're not playing North Carolina, and maybe they're still around. Like, that's the stuff that's a balancing act. But it is what it is at this point. The real question is he 100% physically? How soon? And then based on the missed time, how quickly is he ready just to be the guy?
Quick one from Hans Jurgen. The only thing worse than losing in the second round and waiting 5 months for MSU football is being caught masturbating. G.E. Miller next.
I don't know where to go with that. Do you agree?
Right.
Yeah. It's not great. Yeah.
You wouldn't want to get caught. It's a terrible scene. 0 true upsets from, here's this one, G.E. Miller. 0 true upsets in round of 32. Top seeds are blowing teams out, and only 2 non-Power 5 teams to advance to the Sweet 16 are 5 seeds, Gonzaga and San Diego State. Portal plus NIL didn't give us more parity in college hoops. It's killed it. The rich have gotten richer, except for Michigan State, that is.
Yeah, this is my point in one of my hot takes. I don't love it, and I don't think it's good for the sport. And, what's right for kids might not be right for the sport. And the kids can say, well, that's fine. Well, yeah, but the kids 30 years from now don't get paid if there's no sport. So the kid's now going to kill it. And again, the whole system was based on this house of cards that may have not been right. It was based on some free labor entity. There's lots of reasons, and it worked for a while because we had these strict, ridiculous NCAA rules where, like, I remember, everybody peppered Miles Bridges with questions about a $40 meal his agent bought his mother. Like, how ridiculous was that shit? The fact that I'm embarrassed that we were part of that conversation.
I remember that.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
it's
wild.
like, oh my God, the fuck.
Was it $18 or something?
I don't know, whatever. Yeah, it was under 40. It was like, pay it back, and this is. And it's just
Who was that impression of?
this is my NCAA.
Solari on Adderall?
Yeah.
All right. Richard Kane next. Top 3 highlights of this season. Number 3, Izzo and Freilich as Batman and Robin at Midnight Madness. 2, Holloman standing toe-to-toe with Edie. And number 1, Steven Izzo finally scoring a basket. That a lot of people missed.
Why?
Because people got it. Remember, the game was over, so people left. Wasn't it the old Izzone were there?
Oh, yeah. Because the game was out of.
I almost missed because I almost turned it off.
Yeah.
And anyway,
I do think that was one of the top 3 moments of the year. I think
that's kind of sad though.
Well, no, I think Baylor's 1, Mississippi State's 2 in terms of vibe changing.
But Steven Izzo,
Izzo's up there.
Should probably be top 10, like 9.
Yeah, sure.
For a good season. G.E. Miller, Bake-related take. The only guys that have surely earned a spot on the next roster as Big Ten level dudes are Fears, Booker, Akins, and Trey. Add in 3 freshmen, and you're at 7. That leaves 6 spots open for the portal, NIL, to dramatically enhance this roster. Why not, Graham?
Well, you want to remember Garrick Norman, too, redshirt freshman, who I think that's of real value next year because he's a shooter and he's a guy who's now had a year of understanding, a year to get stronger, and that was a smart play redshirting him.
Is he the best shooter since Foster Lawyer?
I don't. You know what's amazing is Xavier Booker's only a 33% shooter this year. He was like 16 of 48 from 3. I remember like all 16 of his makes and only about half of those misses, and he's obviously a pure shooter. So I don't, that.
You don't remember Izzo yelling, "What the fuck are you doing?" all those times he missed?
I'll say this, though. For a guy, I mean, not all stats are created alike. Like, you want that 33% shooter taking as many threes as he can. What was the question again? I forget. The portal thing. The good news to your point is if there are guys that I would count on coming back, like in this day and age, I think you can't be sure about a lot of guys. But I would bet, first of all, Xavier Booker just said he was coming back. Definitely coming back, he said. Jeremy Fears, who did his whole rehab here, he's Booker's roommate. His turn to run the point. He's coming back. Trey Holloman, I would bet my mother's house is coming back.
Uh-oh.
That guy's never going to leave. And then the other one, Akins. Based on my conversation with him, my sense is that's where his head is, and it's a chance for him to play a more featured role. So the key guys are all on, and we'll see. Somebody will. I don't say surprise, but somebody will leave. I just think if they don't, then that really speaks to the culture they have, and that's good as long as you also are willing to go out and add where need be and supplement it.
All right, let's finish Hans Jurgens here. Number 2, it sure would be nice once in a while to throw a zone at a team who is cutting us up offensively. 3, Holloman is a shooting guard, not a point guard, and bonus, the LSJ should go into the MSU columnist portal.
Yeah, they can't. They could do a lot
Rex
better.
Road in there.
They could do a lot better than me. Yeah, no, that's
with Todd Schultz. Can we get Todd Schultz over here? Are you done with us?
Yeah.
All right, Jake Hawkins, number 1. I really don't understand how MSU came out so hot and looked so good to get a double-digit lead to all of a sudden fizzling out and letting go. What really hurts is MSU looked like they didn't learn their lesson from last year's Sweet 16. Double team one guy, leaving another open. 2, college refs are not pure stinking ass, but they must have been on the take. They obviously wanted to satisfy all the bettors placing money on North Carolina after it was said prior to Saturday that seven number 1 seeded teams favored by 4 or fewer points in second round were 2-5 since 1985. 3, thank God for MSU hockey winning an OT thriller against Michigan at home to win the Big Ten title. But I got to ask, who in the hell is in charge of determining sites for the NCAA National Hockey Tournament? MSU and Western play in a 2,500-seat arena? Seriously?
Yeah. It's not great. And as I said earlier on, and I'm going to write about it this week, it's not great. To your first point, what happened in Michigan State, and I know there's been a lot on Izzo and the should he have called the timeout, and there are a couple points in there I kind of went back through, and yeah, you might have called one. That's the game turned, though. North Carolina really showed up for the fight, and I'm not sure Michigan State had the goods to. The problem for Michigan State is they have to make more difficult shots than North Carolina to keep that pace. They have to have guards hitting outside shots. A.J. Hogard hit a three-pointer from the corner, from the wing, which he rarely does. 2 jump shots in the two post scores from Mady Sissoko. Like, that stuff's not sustainable. And so what Michigan State was doing was a great run, and if they could have made a couple more free throws and gotten it up to like 18 or whatever, if they could have gotten that instead of like a 12-point lead to like 17 and really made North Carolina wobble. And you wonder if maybe they could have gotten a big enough lead that they're never down then, that doesn't turn quite the way it did. Maybe they would have had a chance. That's really what they needed. And they showed some gumption in the second half, but when they fought back after being down 12 to get it to 2, they just weren't as good, and you could see it. It was just plain as day watching that game, and they've got to find a way to make a roster that's better, and that's the bottom line.
All right, we're going to wrap it with Jerk Guy here. The MSU fan base is a bunch of spoiled, whiny bitches who don't know how good we've had it. I understand demanding excellence, but good Lord, people need some perspective.
Yeah, I just think that we just need to remember, even if you're on Twitter, the people you're talking about are humans, and sometimes they can see this stuff. Just remember to be kind. Be critical, but be kind. Or just couch things with a little bit of, I don't like this, but fuck, I don't know. Fuck, I don't know. Fuck. What a show. What a show. If you're not on Pure Options already, if you're not partaking, I think you are if you're listening this far. We appreciate them. Go to pureoptions.com, again, with a $50 purchase at any location. Let them know Couch of the Rube sent you a free 8th of ProGrow. We appreciate muskox. I'm comfortable in a muskox, even when I sound like shit, even when I suck. I look good in a muskox. Is that a good live read? I don't know if that's great.
If not, I'll edit it in post.
And Midtown Brewing Company, thank you for sponsoring our bracket challenge. We appreciate you. We'll come back Tuesday, another show, the rest of your hot takes, some other stuff. Good show, man.
Yeah, man.
Couch in the Rube.